Welcome to the course of General Pathology MLT-112 for BS Medical Lab Technology students. This is lecture number 11 and the topic of lecture is cell injury types and causes. In this lecture, I will give you a basic concept of the cell injury. Then I will discuss different types of the cell injury, causes of the cell injury, and at the end I will summarize the lecture. The recommended books for this lecture are Basic Pathology by the Kumar Robin, Review of the General Pathology by the Firdaus, Short Textbook of Pathology by the Inam Danish. When cells are exposed to some physiological or pathological stresses, it will try to preserve its health, and this mechanism is the cellular adaptation. But if the cells fails to preserve its health, then the cellular structure and function undergoes abnormal changes, which is known as cell injury. The other definition is when the limit of the adaptive capacity of the cell exceeded and abnormal cellular consequences of event occurs known as cell injury. There are two types of the cell injury: reversible cell injury and irreversible cell injury. In reversible cell injury, when the physiological or pathological stresses are removed, the cell will regain its normal structure and function, and the cell will recover into the normal healthy state. On other hand, in the case of the irreversible cell injury, if the physiological or pathological stresses are removed, the cell structure and function will not be regained. And this is due to the cell death. So this is irreversible type of reaction. There are many causes of cell injury like hypoxia, immune reactions, microorganisms, chemicals and drugs, nutritional imbalance, aging, physical agents, genetic defects. Starting with the first one, which is the hypoxia, it's a basically condition in which there is reduced oxygen supply to the tissue. And there are many reasons of this hypoxia. Like if there is some problem in the respiratory tract or the function of the heart, then there will be inadequate oxygenation of blood. The other reason is loss of oxygen carrying capacity of the blood due to anemic condition or carbon monoxide poisoning. Loss of blood supply to the tissue, which is known as ischemia, and this condition is basically occurred when there is some obstruction in the blood vessels. Loss of oxygen utilizing capacity of the cells due to cyanide poisoning. So all these conditions are lead to the reduction of oxygen supply to the tissues. The another cell injury cause is the immune reaction, and this is basically mediated by the immune system components like antibodies or T lymphocytes. So these components they are directed against the self or non-self antigens. By self antigen, I mean the different molecules which are present on the human cells. So they are normally present. On, on another hand, the non-self antigen are those which are present on different pathogens. The, the immune reaction can be divided into two groups like the hypersensitivity reactions and autoimmune disease. In the hypersensitivity reactions, if the antibodies or T lymphocytes they are directed against the non-self antigens, they are called the hypersensitivity reactions. And the best example are different type allergies like in the pollens they enters into the respiratory tract, it will cause allergy. The another type of the this immune mediated cell injury are the autoimmune diseases. And in these diseases, the cell injury are caused due to the antibodies or the T lymphocytes they react with its own antigens. By own antigen, I mean the different molecules which are present on the human cells. So the best example is systemic lupus erythematosus. Cell injury can also be mediated by different pathogens like viruses, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and helminths. Virus cause this cell injury by its cytolytic activity or its tumor producing capabilities. Bacteria produce different type of toxins and enzymes which cause cell injury. Fungi they produce different types of the sanitizing reactions. Protozoa they produce different cytopathic enzymes which damage the cell membrane and the other component of the human cells. Helminths they basically decrease the nutrients availability for cells, so ultimately the immune systems which are associated with these cells are weakened and it will lead to different type of conditions. Chemicals and drugs can also cause cell injuries. So we can divide this into two groups like the harmless substances. So if you take the example of the glucose, if it is present in high concentration in the body, so it will cause osmotic stress, and it is also very dangerous for the cell to maintain its normal structure or function. The other cause may be the poison in drugs. So mercury chloride and barbiturate is known for its ability to damage the cell membrane and enzyme of the human cells. Aging, you already know that it is a process of becoming older. So a process that is genetically determined and environmentally modulated. So this type of cell injury, it is basically associated with the changes in the cellular structure and function of the cell. Nutrition imbalance can also lead to the cell injury. By nutrition imbalance, I mean nutrition deficiency or nutrition excess. If we take the example of the nutritional deficiency, so There are two best examples like biri. This is a condition due to deficiency of the vitamin B1 or thiamine. Kwashiorkor, it is due to deficiency of proteins. In addition to this, nutrition excesses also lead to the cell injury, like the condition of atherosclerosis, and this is because of the high diet intake, which are rich in saturated fats or cholesterol. And these saturated fats and cholesterol, they are accumulated in the blood vessel, and it will lead to the blockage in the blood vessel, and this condition is called atherosclerosis. Physical agents, they also cause different cell injuries. So if we further divide these physical agents into different types, so one is the mechanical trauma, in which if the injury occurs due to some blow, crush, cut, or penetration. So all these conditions can lead to the cellular destruction. Extreme of temperature is also dangerous for the cells, like in case of the low temperature, which result in the vasoconstriction. Vasoconstriction means that the blood vessels, you can say, diameter becomes low, or crystallization of intracellular water. High temperature can also result in the hypermetabolism or burning of tissue. Sudden lowering of atmospheric pressure is also very dangerous for the cells, like the condition of Caisson disease, which results in the blockage of blood flow and hypoxic condition occurs. Radiant energy can also cause cell injury by producing different ionization of chemical in cells, which lead to the production of free radical, and it also causes different type of mutations. Electrical energy, it also causes cell injury because it produces burns and it interferes with the neuronal conduction. Genetic defect can also cause cell injury, and it is due to DNA mutation or chromosomal abnormalities. Mutation can be defined as the change in the DNA sequence. Examples are the cystic fibrosis, sickle cell anemia, and color blindness. Chromosomal abnormality can also cause cell injury, and it is basically a condition in which there is some change in the chromosome number or location. The best example are the Down syndrome and Turner syndrome. So let me summarize today's lecture. So in this lecture, we have learned about the definition of cell injury. So let me revise it. So it is basically the condition in which the cell fails to retain its normal structure or function due to some pathological or physiological stress. We have also learned different type of the cell injury, like reversible and irreversible. Reversible are the cell injury types in which the cell can regain its normal state after the removal of the stress. On the other hand, the irreversible cell injury is the type in which the cell can't regain its normal state after the removal of pathological or physiological stress. And there are many causes of the cell injury like the hypoxia, immune reaction, microorganism, chemical and drugs, nutritional imbalance, aging, physical agent, genetic defects. So our next topic will be the mechanism of cell injury. So you can study this topic from the following books: Basic Pathology by the Kumar Robbins, Review of General Pathology by the Firdos, short textbook of pathology by the Inam Danish. And if you have any query, please don't hesitate to contact me at qasim89@gmail.com. So, see you in next lecture.